Our restaurant is most definitely different to other restaurants in Melbourne. The concept behind our restaurant is incredibly unique. Everything is historically inspired. So whether it's a particular point in time, an occasion, a battle, that's how we come up with everything. In terms of how we locally source our products, we go from whether they're farmers within Victoria or whether they're within Australia, we make sure that we get very unique products. We handpick most of our steaks and things like that, so everything is 100% as best as it can possibly be. I mean, there are other restaurants, like say some like Vidamon, which are obviously at this exact same level, and they are amazing as well. But the level of detail, the level of care, each recipe in the kitchen has about anywhere between 40 to 70 sub-recipes within that to create the dish. So it's more like art on a plate as opposed to, I guess, just a regular parma on the table. So yes, we are very unique.
That's the next one. Do you think that the prices for your meals are suitable for the standards and why?
I mean, yes, there's a lot of thought that goes into it. I mean, I don't really have a lot to do with in terms of the food costs and things like that, but it will depend on what our suppliers can provide. Whether there's a shortage in the season or whether we need to source it from an external to what we're used to, that will obviously impact on the price. We do have a lot of chefs as well, which will be creating. We do have a very large team. So we've got this entire kitchen upstairs and we have the exact same downstairs in our prep kitchen. So it's essentially 2 kitchen teams working full time.
How many people are
in the kitchen team as a whole, we've got about 53 at the moment. And we've got about the same front of house as well. So it's a big team and there's a lot of intricacies that go with it, which can be why prices are a little bit higher. And it's also the expectation and the quality of the produce as well.
How do you make sure that your food satisfies all your customers?
That's hard because we have so many customers from different walks of life and from different backgrounds. People come here for a once in a lifetime experience or they come here with business on a regular basis. So it's hard to kind of know what everyone's going to expect, but we just want to be able to produce the best quality we can. And if they like it, amazing. We don't really have too many complaints, to be perfectly honest. I'm trying to think of the last complaint we had. I was involved in. For the most part, I think we do really well in terms of just our guest satisfaction is our staff are so knowledgeable.
Yeah.
We can turn a negative into a positive very, very quickly. If there's something that's delayed, the chefs are also really good in terms of if there is something that they're not happy with, it won't go out to the customer.
Yeah.
So everything's perfect before it goes out. So we kind of almost eliminate that element that something could potentially go wrong. So we clean a lot.
Do you believe that your restaurant is more successful than others in Melbourne and why?
I guess we are very successful. I mean, we took a brand that was predominantly UK based and a UK chef and brought it to Australia. This is the first one that they've ever done outside of the United Kingdom. So that is definitely a hard thing to come to the Melbourne food market, in which it's incredibly difficult here. But I think we've been really successful. We're in our 3rd year of operation. We're still in the top 10 restaurants in Melbourne. So yeah, I think we're doing really well so far.
Do you take inspiration from different cultures to come up with varying meal ideas?
Well, our menu is designed around British and Australian historical gastronomy. So yes and no. So definitely we focus on those particular cultures more so than anything else. But there are definitely techniques which potentially could be French inspired in terms of like the equipment we use. Or potentially from, a lot of our wine terminology and our front of house terminology is also French. So there are elements, I would say, of European influences, but predominantly Australian and British.
How do you achieve the standard of the meals that you serve?
It's a hard question. I guess everything has been developed in the United Kingdom and it's been brought over here and it's already been kind of the troubleshot as much as we can. So it's definitely a good training techniques that we use. Everything is checked over by our senior chefs, so we've got that. And in terms of the staff in the front of house, they know the historical aspect of it. They know every element of that dish as well, so we can really relate to it that way.
And quickly, how do you think this one compares to the ones in the UK?
I mean, we are very different in terms of, obviously, this is in an Australian market, which is incredibly unique. So it's one of those situations. I think we're different, but we're the same. So they're probably a little bit busier than what we are, but yeah, London is incredibly busy itself. So not to say that Melbourne isn't, but London has got a high population. So you know what, they're probably that a little bit busier than what we are, but not to say that we won't be up there soon.
Yeah.
How many times a year do you change your menu and why?
We don't really have times that we'll change it completely. Sometimes we'll take off a dish, whether it be seasonally or because we do our meat fruit, which you've probably seen or heard of before. We change that to a plum meat fruit for the festive season. And then potentially we'll change things if it's winter. We might change our fish or our venison, just in terms of where we can source products from. But for the most part, it only ever comes. It'll change. You know what? Maybe there'll be a few items that'll change every year, but it's more of a rotation than anything else. So yeah, it's because it's such a long process. It's about a two-year process from the initial concept to seeing it actually come into the venue. Yeah. So it's slow. It's different to other venues.
How did you come up with the presentation for your food?
That again, it is really based on that historical aspect. Depending on what the situation has been, it could be to represent our meat fruit. Obviously, it's the easiest one. It's to represent the time of the 1300s and the 1500s, where they were, obviously there was a lot of famine and poverty, so they created meat that actually looked like fruit to have this beautiful kind of array of produce when they actually couldn't physically afford it. So it's definitely a unique time to be kind of designing. Everything is very artistic in terms of how a sauce will get poured onto a plate. There could be a spray that's involved, even with our cocktails and things like that. There could be a particular design, even from the way the glass is shaped to the way it gets presented, and particularly the angle that gets represented to you. So it's a lot about history and a lot about art.
So
yeah, it's pretty cool.
How do you train your wait staff to make sure they uphold the standards of your restaurant?
We have a fairly rigorous, I'll say, training program that'll last about 6 weeks. And that goes through everything from your starting point. You learn all about the history, all about obviously what our standards are. You then get to work in pretty much every aspect of it. So you'll get to do a couple of days in the kitchen. So you'll be able to experience what the chefs will go through, say you're front of house staff. Or you can go into the bar, and then you'll be able to sommelier team. So you'll be able to learn everything before you kind of then be able to learn your aspect. We have a very large training manual, which goes through every single dish and every single drink we have on our menu currently. So we've got, what have we got on the menu at the moment? We've got about 30 to 40 things on our menu currently. We've got another 1,500 wines, and we've got about another 30 odd cocktails. So it is a lot to learn, but we do a lot of training programs. All our managers spend a lot of time individually with the staff, so they can kind of, because people learn differently as well, and that's what we have to take into consideration. People learn by doing, people learn by theory. You know what, sometimes it's a beautiful mixture of the pair. So a lot of training, a lot of development, and we take our time. There's no rush for us. Unless it's perfect, it doesn't go out, whether that be a person or a meal.
What are the hours you are open for, and how does this relate to the number of people?
We open obviously for dinner every single night of the week from 5:30. and we open for lunch on Saturdays and Sundays. In terms of the staffing, I guess it doesn't really change for us. Most of our staff are full-time, and we do have a couple of part-timers that'll kind of fill in those gaps here and there. We do that just because the Melbourne market doesn't really need us to be currently open for lunch, and obviously definitely not for breakfast. So there's a lot that goes into the preparation for each night for service. So to be open every day of the week, we would need more staff than what we currently have. We've got a perfect amount at the moment of about 106 we're sitting on, so I don't really want to go too much higher than that.
Do you think that there is a general Australian cuisine?
No, not really. I think we've been influenced so much by different cultures. We've got such a multicultural society within Australia, whether it be, everywhere from Europe to Asia to native Australian. I mean, you can see influences everywhere. Whether it be people like we do Vegemite ice cream, for example, and things like that. So it's things are really unique, and you can incorporate different aspects. But I don't think it is a hard one with the Australian food scene. I think we're influenced a lot. I mean, you can think that a pub meal can be, traditionally Australian, and then you can find Budamon does an amazing Australian inspired menu as well. So I think, it's kind of hard, but there's a little bit of everything in Australia.
What makes Melbourne a popular food scene?
I don't know. It's got a lot going for it. I mean, well, it's not the best today. I have to apologise. It's just become this hub of people that are just drawn to it for culture. There's always something going on. There's always a food festival, a drink festival, an event to celebrate food and to celebrate art and to celebrate culture. So it's just become this hub, and I don't know how and why, but I'm really happy to be a part of it.
What comes to mind when you think of food in Melbourne?
Food in Melbourne, I would say diversity, because you can go and have any cuisine you could possibly think of in the entire world in Melbourne, and you could probably find all of them on the same street. So yeah, we're actually sport for choice here in terms of dining out and experiencing different cultures and different food, and something that you potentially, weren't thinking of that you could actually enjoy, and you find out, what, I kind of really like that. So I guess our diversity in terms of food culture is at next level.
That's the last question.
Do you think that Melbourne's cuisine is of a high standard?
Without a doubt. Everyone pushes here for the best style of cuisine. If you don't give not only good food but good service, you don't survive in Melbourne. It's really competitive. There are a lot of people and a lot of different restaurants coming through. Every single day there'll be something new that's opening and something new that's developing. So I really think that if you don't provide a good meal and have high quality